Every February of every year, every single corporation in the country puts out ads like this, talking about how much they love Black communities and why it's so important for us to buy from Black-owned businesses. The executives don't do this because they genuinely think it's important to raise minorities up. It's all just a PR stunt made up by some MBAs who think that we're all naive enough to think that a multi-billion-dollar corporation cares about anything other than making a profit for its shareholders. Because while talking the talk of supporting Black communities is easy, actually walking the walk is a whole nother matter. And oftentimes, corporations will just give up when they realize that it takes a lot more than simply tweeting something corny like #BlackBeyondMeasure. No corporation actually cares about bringing actual change to Black communities, but that's not going to stop them from selling toddler-sized Black is Beautiful sweaters for $18. Both those examples are things Target has done in the name of quote-unquote supporting Black communities. So, on this February 1st, the first day of Black History Month, I wanted to walk you through the changes that Target actually brings to Black communities around the country. The changes that Target would rather create a $2 billion PR campaign to keep people from talking about. The story starts in Mondawmin, a 92% Black neighborhood in West Side Baltimore. Like most West Side neighborhoods, Mondawmin is pretty heavily impoverished, but that didn't stop the city from giving the Target Corporation a $15 million tax incentive back in 2008 to set up shop in Mondawmin. It was an expensive deal for the city of Baltimore to pay, but the Target store hired around 250 employees to work in its store, 95% of whom were local residents. This was a huge deal. Baltimore has spent decades in a state of constant economic decline. There are a lot of reasons for this, such as a large flood of heroin flooding the streets and the resulting increased police crackdown on the civilians. But one particular reason for the decline of West Side Baltimore is that when the affluent residents moved out to the suburbs, the shopping centers moved out with them. The loss of area stores signaled both the loss of money flowing into the community as well as the loss of job opportunities for the local residents. Today, it's obscenely difficult for its population to find legitimate work, but the revitalization that Target brought to Mondawmin also brought an air of legitimacy to the community. No more would the young men and women of Mondawmin be forced to stand on corners to feed their families. Maybe Target would even be the first corporation in the line of many to bring economic prosperity back into West Side Baltimore. You can probably tell that this didn't happen. The revitalization never came. West Side is still as impoverished as it's ever been. The residents are still struggling to find gainful employment. Because just 10 years after taking the $15 million tax credit to move into Mondawmin, the Target headquarters decided to close up shop. The reason they cited was that the store had been struggling to turn a profit, and the suits back in Minneapolis thought it was more important to make money hand over fist no matter the cost than it was to actually do good on their promise to lift up Black communities. In the words of a local pastor, to open a store like Target in an African American neighborhood gave this area legitimacy. When the store was closed, it was like saying, "You're not worthy after all." The Mondawmin store was closed in February 2018. The irony that the store supporting an impoverished Black community was closed during Black History Month must have been lost on the executives. But getting back onto topic, the store was closed in February 2018, meaning the decision from Target headquarters to shut the operations down had to have occurred in 2017. If we look at the company's financial reports for the year of 2017, the year that Target decided to give West Side Baltimore the middle finger in lieu of chasing profits, we can see that Target had a gross income of more than $18 billion. To be precise, it's $18,325 million. But that apparently was enough for the company's board of directors. No. They wanted even more money. So, despite the $15 million in tax breaks they took from the city of Baltimore, despite all their PR team's claims about the importance of supporting Black people, Target still chose to shutter the Mondawmin location in order to set up shop in a more affluent neighborhood with an easier guarantee of profits. I'd like to make it clear that this wasn't just a one-time occurrence. A total of 12 Target stores are closed down during this period for being unprofitable. Like in February 2019, 1 year after the Mondawmin Target was shut down, the headquarters shut down another 2 Target stores in 2 heavily predominantly Black neighborhoods of South Chicago. These were Chatham and Morgan Park. At the same time, the company coincidentally decided to open up 2 brand new Target stores on the substantially wealthier and wider part of North Chicago. Like in Mondawmin, these store closures represented a loss of legitimacy for the area. Target filled a gap in terms of the quality of life for these communities. Abruptly, that gap has been reopened without any consideration, commentary, or collaboration with the community at all, said the Illinois Congressman Bobby Rush. You have a community that has been underserved for decades. We're finally getting a small bit of respect, some quality of life for consumers, and they felt they had options to buy goods. They were kicked to the curb, so to speak. When will it stop? We befriended Target, we supported Target, and now we're left without many options. And you might be thinking that this situation might not actually be too bad. Yes, the neighborhoods do lose a lot of legitimacy when a big box corporation like Target gives up on them. But at least this opens up the possibility for a local business to set up shop, right? Jobs aren't actually lost, and as long as it's another retailer that takes over the location, nobody actually loses a convenient shopping location. Right? No, that's just freshman year economic theory. There's no guarantee that a business will set up shop in the shut down Target's location, and even less of a guarantee that it should be a retailer. And even less of a guarantee that it should be a retailer that even has the capacity to serve the local community. For example, in Milwaukee, a Target store was shut down in Northridge, another heavily black neighborhood, but it wasn't a retailer that took its place. It was a cold storage business, probably one of the most obscure line of businesses, and the least helpful in getting community back on its feet. It's even worse in Mondawmin because the Target headquarters owns a lot of land that the store used to reside on. The suits apparently aren't in any hurry to sell this plot of land because it still remains vacant to this very day. To rub salt into the wound, Target is actually getting tax breaks on this plot of land. Basically, what happened is that when they bought the building in Mondawmin, it caused the surrounding property prices to skyrocket, which makes sense. Like I've said earlier, the Target opening in stores was seen as a desirable change to the community. It created jobs, gave the locals the ability to not have to drive an hour out into the suburbs every time they wanted to pick up groceries, and it paved the way for future development to occur. But when Target nixed that progress by moving out of Mondawmin, it reversed all the positive changes and subsequently caused the surrounding property value to tank. The land that Target bought is currently worth less than it was 3 years ago, and as such, their accountants are able to claim it as a loss on their balance sheets. It's fucked up how a corporation can get tax breaks for failing to live up to its promises of change. Though in Target's measly defense, this tax evasion move isn't quite as fucked up as what they did in Flint. As I'm sure you already know, Flint is a city in Michigan that spent years struggling to get lead-free drinking water. The Flint water crisis heated up to its boiling point in 2016 when the governor declared a state of emergency. Do you know what Target, brave, honorable Target, who constantly talks about the importance of raising up black communities, do you know what Target did? You probably do, since you've been watching this video. They fucking moved out. So Flint, in 2016, in a state of emergency where the children were unable to access tap water to drink, Flint lost one of their largest employers. They lost a large chunk of corporate taxes that could have been used to solve the water crisis. And to really twist the lead knife in their majority black community's wound, Flint lost one of their only sources of bottled, drinkable water. In fact, I was living in Michigan during the Flint state of emergency. I remember vividly that for a period of time, some of the people in Flint had to rely on volunteers buying bottled water from outside the city and driving them across the state to hand deliver them. Target doesn't care about black people. Period. Nobody can argue this. But at the same time, Target is a corporation, not a charity. And look, it's fine that a multi-billion-dollar corporation doesn't care about inflicting societal harm in order to make money. It's what we've all come to expect. But at the very least, please have the decency to admit that you don't actually care about the people around you. Don't spend $2 billion buying products from black-owned businesses to resell at a higher price just to pretend that it's doing good for the world. Because people actually eat that shit up. Do you remember that $18 toddler sweater I mentioned earlier? I'm not even kidding. This shitty sweater, made for toddlers who couldn't care less about what they're wearing, had a 4.6 out of 5-star rating on the website before it got taken down. 91% of buyers would recommend it to their friends. And yeah, Good for the creator of that sweater. I'm sure the CEO of that business made some decent cash. But the sweater doesn't actually help Black communities. It doesn't repair crumbling infrastructure. It doesn't create employment opportunities for more than just a small handful of people. All it does is make Target look good. It gives them a box to check off to make it seem like they're driving societal change. I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here. There's no way any decision maker from Target is actually going to watch this video and be swayed into actually doing the right thing. Because honestly, that company has shown time and time again that they're more interested in empty platitudes than actually driving societal reform. And there's nothing that proves this point more than what the CEO of Target said after the murder of George Floyd. The murder of George Floyd has unleashed the pent-up pain of years, as have the killings of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. We say their names and hold a too long list of others in our hearts. As a Target team, we've huddled, we've consoled, we've witnessed horrific scenes similar to what's playing out now, and wept that not enough is changing. And as a team, we vow to face pain with purpose. One of the names in the too long list is Freddie Grey, a Black man who was arrested just a few blocks away from the Mondawmin Target location. While he was handcuffed in police custody, the arresting officers broke his voice box, 3 vertebrae, and severed 80% of his spine at the base of his neck. Freddie Grey died on August 19, 2015. Less than 3 years later, on February 2018, Target shut down the Mondawmin store where Freddie was arrested at, out of some fear that it wasn't making its investors in Wall Street enough money. So the next time you see someone talking about how much they love Target because Target and only Target cares about Black people, then show them this video. Because at the end of the day, Target doesn't care about Black people. All Target cares about is making as much money as humanly possible.
We need this store, definitely. The employees in there, they need a job. They have families, they have a home, they need to eat, they need to live.